Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the CoinGeek Weekly Livestream. I'm going to use my professional radio announcer voice to point out the fact that Alex Moon has put himself behind a black curtain so that I cannot bring him surprisingly into the live feed. Doxing Mr. Moon live from City of London or wherever the hell he's from. Anyways, I'm Wuckert Jr. Sorry, I don't know. Stopped drinking caffeine about a week and a half ago. And I'm finally starting to get my natural energy back. So I'm feeling good without the coffee. And that's a good thing, I think, because I was having some stomach issues since coming back from Zurich. I don't know what changed, but feeling better now. So thanks for your prayers, everyone. I know everyone was worried. Let's start by saying, hey, if you're watching live, please share the link to this video across social media. We are live across Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and the YouTubes, maybe not the YouTube, I don't know, whatever. So if wherever you're watching this from, please share across your accounts. Let people know that there is all kinds of cool stuff happening at CoinGeek, especially during the CoinGeek Weekly live streams where we get all kinds of surprise guests and you can ask me anything because I'm willing to take your questions, comments, blessings, cursings, grapes, gripes, or gropes and handle them like a professional because I am indeed a professional. So today we're going to have a very special guest, my buddy. In fact, I could even call him a dear friend, Mr. Luke Rohenaz, the CEO and one of the co-founders of TonicPOW. Luke's a super cool dude from South Florida, developing one of my favorite startups in the entire blockchain economy because it allows you to earn Bitcoin without having to do anything that you normally have to do, which is buy something. So the cool thing about TonicPOW is that you can sign up, and if you can create value with your social profiles, you can earn Bitcoin just by being yourself. And that's a thing I feel like we should have solved about a decade ago, but instead we argued about what the hell Bitcoin was for. So Luke, the visionary of all visionaries, was bright enough to come up with an idea, as I understand it, on about 2 or 3 days notice and bang out one of the coolest things in the entire economy there. Got a question here from P. Lawler. What size hat do you wear? This is like asking Homer Simpson about his pant size. I think it was. So I have a very large head. I wear some kind of a XX super size thing. So if I were to go for like a basic baseball cap, I have to be like all the way on the last hole, so it looks insane on me. So I actually need plus-sized hats. So if anybody wants to donate me a hat, super size, and I need like a Shaquille O'Neal-sized hat, please. And then Bitcoin Becky saying, TonicPOW is how I've earned all my Bitcoin, nearly $50 worth now. Now that's pretty cool. So yeah, we're going to bring Luke on. And again, please share this link across. Let everybody know that the delightful Luke Rohenaz and maybe even lovely Alex Moon will be popped into the stream here. But first, I want to talk a little bit about what happened with the Cork. We were unsure the price that it would go for. Frankly, it's a cork from a bottle of champagne that is otherwise uninteresting, except for the fact that it was shared live on the air with Satoshi Nakamoto and a few other friends, including Bitcoin Becky and Jimmy Wynn, the most professional man in Bitcoin. But I was shocked to see that it sold for 69 BSV on auction at relayx.com. At the time of purchase, it was about $8,500. And so that's a lot of money. And I was surprised that we raised so much money. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to choose a couple of charities, and then we're going to ask some people that we want to communicate with across media to choose charities of their choice. And they have to have us on to discuss BSV, and they get to choose where the money goes, the charity of their choice, within reason, I suppose. We can always nix anything that we don't want. Now, here's the thing. Here's the question. Carboncraft asking, who is the buyer? And I'll be 100% honest with you. I don't know who the buyer is because they have not yet identified themselves. I have a hash. I know the address. But curiously enough, it's as if keys are not identity and the privacy model of Bitcoin works. Wouldn't you know it? So we're gonna need whoever owns the cork to reach out to me or to Alex Moon, and we can figure out exactly who we are. And we're going to have to do some kind of a signing session or something like that. So I know a guy who can probably help with that. What we're going to do is we're going to have Stephen Matthews fly us all out to London, and we're gonna set up a session. I'm just kidding. No, we'll figure something out. We'll do some kind of a cool proof. And when you prove that you are the rightful owner of the NFT, I will do the rest of the stuff that's in the contract of the NFT, which includes sending you a certificate of authenticity, signing over my rights to the cork, and indeed sending you the physical cork. Last I checked, the cork is for sale by the new owner for 2,180 BSV. So if you want to buy it, then I suppose we can bypass sending the physical cork and the certificate of authenticity and all that to the first buyer. We can send it directly to owner number 3, and then ultimately it becomes the cork of owner number 3 after not having had any physical provenance in the ownership of owner number 2. So it's an interesting situation, and we're going to have to figure all that out. But I promise you, we will get the cork situation figured out. I guess if nobody ever, like if he just doesn't claim it and doesn't sell it and whatever, maybe there's some kind of expiry, but I didn't put an expiration in the contract. So now I'm going to have to talk to an attorney, and we'll figure out, we'll figure that out. I don't know what the statute of limitations are, but we'll make that happen. So that's the update on the cork. Please continue to follow the provenance of the cork. As the longer you follow it, the more important the cork gets. You know, maybe we'll solve world hunger with the cork ultimately, but not this week, and certainly not on this show. So I'm going to bring a friend on, but before, we're going to watch an advertisement from a little company in the UK that you may have heard of. And when the ad is over, then we will be joined back with the CEO of TonicPOW, Mr. Luke Rohenaz, and we'll talk a little bit about what we did in Miami, what we did actually all over South Florida, some interesting stuff, some fun stuff. We'll share some stories, and we will talk a little bit about the past, present, and future of TonicPOW. So, Alex, play the ad.
Data is double-edged. Wield it well and build your place in tomorrow. But trust it blindly and risk watching your progress crumble. Because much of the data we rely upon isn't reliable at all. At nChain, we believe in data, but we put no faith in it. Instead, we build tools that enable enterprises to trust the data upon which they rely. nChain, data without question.
Oh, that ended abruptly. What's up, Luke? How you doing, man?
Hey, doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. No, it's been a long time coming, frankly. Funny story. Let's tell a little bit of some history here. You and I actually met at a bar in London, and I imagine you recall this story.
Well, maybe. You gotta tell me a little more than that.
Presumably you were sober. So
Yeah,
I had just landed. Was it the Four Seasons or the Ritz or something where we were all hanging out before CoinGeek London? I don't remember now.
I don't remember the name of that place. It was really nice, though.
I feel like it was either the Ritz or the
I
Four
just
Seasons.
got there in time because I was traveling, and the travel situation was a little chaotic.
So I had a similar thing. So I got off the plane. I was later than I wanted to be. I knew that they were doing like a meetup and drinks and stuff before. Becky's saying Four Seasons. Yeah, so it was Four Seasons. Yeah. I got off the plane. I'm riding with a guy with the thickest Cockney accent I've ever heard in my life. I hadn't slept at all, and I'm like, Four Seasons, please. And he's, oi, which one, bruv? And I'm like, I don't know, the one in London. Oh, there's 2 Four Seasons in London and blah blah blah. And I was like, dude, I don't know, man, help me out. Yeah. So I get there, you know, a bunch of old friends. Hey, Kurt, you know, this and that. I'm sitting at the bar, like literally trying to hydrate. I wasn't even having like a cocktail or anything. And you walked up. And you're like, hi, Kurt. Like, you just sat next to me and you shook my hand. You're like, I'm Luke. Like, well, hi, Luke. I'm Kurt. Nice to meet you. You know, you're like, no, I'm Wild Satchmo from Twitter. And I was like, oh, yeah, hey. It was pretty funny. You know, I'm like, it's so funny how many people you only know from their handles across across social media. And then I remember we sat and shot the shit for probably 20 or 30 minutes and all of that. But that's how we met at the Four Seasons in London. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I actually was like I was kind of looking for you. I hadn't met you before, and you know, I knew that you're gonna be there. So I'm like, yeah, we gotta. That's kind of why it probably was that weird, where I just kind of like singled you out and sat down, like, hello.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, it was funny because I was just kind of wigged out myself, and then like you were probably the fifth person who walked up and were like, "Hi, Kurt," and I'm like, "Well, I don't know you either, so hi."
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun, and really, I feel like we've talked at least once a week, like ever since then.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
we've become quite good friends and tell stupid stories, and now shoot, I've met your family and everything else. So
Yeah.
it's pretty funny. But before we talk about TonicPOW, I would like to hear your Bitcoin story, or as much of it as you're willing to share. I know you're a private person, and I'm going to respect that. I won't dig in too much. But how'd you discover Bitcoin? Why the hell are you here in the Bitcoin economy developing a business?
Yeah. So thinking back to the very beginning, I was working at the time when I first found out about Bitcoin. I think I was working for the law firm that's now suing Craig in this big case, which is just funny how life works out. And I probably was like a Slashdot article or something like that. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, that's like what us nerds used to read back before Hacker News was so popular. And anyway, probably came across that article. I was interested in it right away because I was already a little bit in the sound money camp. That was on my radar as like a super important thing, you know, audit the Fed, all this good stuff. And so it was on my radar for that reason. I was also in technology. I worked for that law firm, but I was an IT manager there. And before that, I had done a lot of programming and things. So it was very much interesting to me. And then it really wasn't until I spent a little bit more time digging into how the system worked and realized the kind of some of the brilliance in there. And then I think when I realized that you could carry data along with transactions, that's when it was like, you know, the money side of it was already very interesting. And I was already like an evangelist just knowing about that. But once the data aspect came in is when I started thinking about how to position myself to be working in this as like this new emerging industry, which I knew it was going to become. You know, just because it's the same reason that like the aha moment must have gone up for some other people, like the triple entry accounting sort of thing, that the whole point is you need this neutral layer where you can have data and kind of trust what's there. And Bitcoin lets you do that. So there were certain things that I was super interested with, like voting systems and things like this in the very beginning. But this probably was, this is a long time ago. I mean, from the very beginning of Bitcoin, maybe like 2011 or something like that, when I first started really paying attention.
No, that's fascinating. I think it's also interesting that you're in South Florida because there's a lot of stuff, like you mentioned, you used to work for the firm that's suing Craig Wright, and like that's funny, but a lot of people don't realize that there's a ton of connections to South Florida in Bitcoin. I mean, not only like
Kleiman is here.
Yeah, I mean that this was the home of Dave Kleiman and the Kleiman family. It's the home of a whole bunch of old Bitcoiners. In fact, I believe Gregory Maxwell lives in South Florida, and then everyone's favorite funder of Bitcoin Core, Jeffrey Epstein, called South Florida home for many, many years. My favorite small blocker. So, there's you know, the Miami, the Bitcoin Miami 2021, whatever they called it, Bitcoin 2021 conference that we attended also. Was illuminating, I think. So
Yeah,
let's fast forward a little bit. As I recall, you very narrowly were not first place in the first BSV Hackathon. I think the winner was BitPing, if I recall, or they were Uptime SV at the time when they won. And then you guys came together with this TonicPOW thing, and you've told me parts of the story before, but can you tell me, like, what was it like on your end? How did you hear about the hackathon? How did you assemble your team, and what was it like competing for the very first BSV Hackathon?
Oh, well, I went to work for a company called Delivery Dudes in South Florida, who was basically like Uber Eats before Uber Eats existed. They were doing it before it was cool, and they did a really great job. It was a cool company. A lot of really great people worked there. You know, I talk about it in the past tense because they were just recently acquired by a larger food delivery company. But I was working there, and I had Austin, who now works with me in TonicPOW, decided to join this hackathon. We always, would like shoot the shit about crypto and stuff, water cooler talk or whatever, and everybody knew I was a total nutcase for it. So it was often a topic of conversation. Everybody already knew about back then. I think I'm trying to, we were already past 2 forks at this point, but we had been doing this in the office when it was still BCH days and stuff. So when the hackathon came up and it was kind of this, there was like a legitimate prize attached to it and everything, which was a little surprising at the time. They weren't doing big hackathons like that. And we were all engineers working on a team for a professional sort of software development team. So we decided to just make a weekend out of it. I actually invited a couple of other guys that I worked with to join us in the project, that they didn't come along. But that would have been interesting. Things might have been very different if, who knows. But it was a cool experience. That's how the team got assembled. We were just working together and floated the idea, and we actually worked at the office on the weekend. And Attila was, I don't know if Attila was in Canada or Panama. I think he was in Canada at the time. But yeah, we had Attila on video conference, and Mr. Z and I were in the same room. We divvied up kind of chunks of the project that we were going to build and went to town. And it was like no sleep. Those guys are much better on no sleep than me. When it got like real late, I'm like shutting down. They're still going, and they went to like, I don't know, that first night, like I want to say it was like 4 a.m. or some crazy number. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a rough night.
Yeah.
And do you guys still work that way? Like what are, is TonicPOW like 9 to 5 at this point, or what does your day look like developing?
No, we don't like a lot of that type of thing. I mean, we're all hardworking people, but we definitely don't like, especially everybody's in different places. Austin's in North Carolina. We have contractors that work with us that are literally all over the world. So schedules are all over the place. I'm of the opinion that if you hire really good people, that are self-motivated people, you don't need to like police them or have like strict hours or strict, it's good to be organized, but there's 2 edges to that sword.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what are TonicPOW's already been through a few iterations even. Like I remember when it was brand new, I didn't understand it initially. I was like, I don't know, something about monetizing short links, and that's all fine. That wasn't
even what it was in the beginning. The hackathon project had no short links. It was a widget that you embed on your website that was like, basically I have this spot on my website and I'll rent this spot out. And so you would just but the ad store was in place. So you had a little money button and you could swipe the button, and inside the ad to purchase that ad space for X number of blocks. And it would read that the schedule would actually be on chain for that and everything, which is interesting because it really did say something about the core of like some ideas that we have, which is like, we want a lot of this data to be on the blockchain, and a lot of the display schedule and like a lot of this other stuff to be sort of derived from on-chain data. And we're still moving in that direction. I think what we realized though is that like we needed to really refine the product to know for sure, because once you put something on chain, a certain structure, it's sort of set that way. So so we've been sort of figuring everything out and taking feedback and iterating on the product, and we're getting to a point now where we're going to eventually circle back to putting more and more of our stuff on chain once we know the exact structure that it ought to be to solve all the use cases that we need it for, et cetera. So
sure. Well, and that's fascinating. Was it? I know you've got a lot of strong opinions about social media and culture in general. And it's one of the things I really love about you is you come across initially as like low-key guy, like you're soft-spoken. You come across as like a nice guy and all of this stuff. Not to say you're not a nice guy. That's not the rabbit coming out of the hat here. But when we get you going, like we start talking about like, oh, doesn't it suck that social media is this way? And then all of a sudden you're just like, yeah, and here's what's wrong and here's how we can fix it. And all of a sudden, like you get this like problem solver Luke that turns on here. And so is that what motivated TonicPOW to be what it is, or where did this start? Was it like a shrewd business plan, or is it ideological to start?
I mean, it all comes from, there is some ideology that's at the core of all this stuff. I mean, you get involved in Bitcoin from the first place because for me, it's more a freedom thing. The whole initial kind of narratives that you hear, the things like be your own bank and all this stuff, it really did resonate very much with me. Censorship resistance is another thing that really resonated with me as well. And we see a lot of problems with censorship. With TonicPOW, it's stuff like demonetization is a bit of an issue. This kind of blanket approach to say, oh, we don't like what you're saying for whatever reason, and so we're just going to deem it not advertiser friendly, and therefore like your entire 2 years of work building your channel on our platform is just like nuked. Not that I don't get it. It's private property. YouTube owns it. Whatever the case may be, they can do with what they want. But we do need alternatives. We need some standard kind of ways to communicate that that Bitcoin can kind of turn on for us.
Sure.
It was one of the original motivators why I got into all this stuff. Was, again, the spark goes off when you realize that you put the data on chain, and realizing that putting data on chain in a specific format that other people can consume. There's so much that comes out of that that's not obvious at first.
Sure. Well, and it's not obvious. It's still, frankly, it's not obvious to almost anybody still, because they all, talk to the Ethereum bros or, anybody else, and they're just like, why would BSV do what we're doing here? And, meanwhile, there's like the 50 of us that hang out and talk about like, no, we're literally changing the whole world because the data's on chain and all of that. And so it's funny. I've always kind of put you guys along with Twetch in a similar basket, because both have a lot to do with like, who owns the data? How do you track who owns the data? How can it be repurposed and monetized in a way that benefits the owner first, rather than some faceless marketing agency or some, whoever the string pullers are, basically. And this is really why I think I've become like, you guys are like my two closest groups of friends. Like I hang out with the Twetch guys and I hang out with you, the TonicPOW guys. And it's really because I see like an important social and cultural synergy there, but also I really appreciate both of you guys' businesses drive. Or business drives. So like, are there ways? I think the one thing that is a little bit weird about the way that things have sort of fleshed themselves out is that in many ways, like, you need a TonicPOW account, and then you're going to do all these different things, but you're in the TonicPOW ecosystem. And then it's a similar thing with Twetch. And so we talk a little bit about like open social protocols and all these sort of things, but it's like, but ultimately, if you don't have an account in each of our little businesses, then you can't really benefit from those things. Do you see that as like, are these growing pains, or are these things that like in 5 years, like they're all just kind of pinging each other and working in ways that are open and cooperative?
Yeah, exactly. I think that the true like cooperative nature that can emerge from all this stuff is going to take a little bit of time to develop. It all starts with those on-chain data structures, and then, finding ways that other clients might consume them, things like this. For TonicPOW, it's obvious that you could build, other like analytics dashboards, things like that kind of view the data and give you a different perspective. And there's already some possibility there, but we could do much more. For us, we think a lot about the future, and how do I say this? So like, one of the choices that we've made, which is kind of noticeable, is that we don't always integrate deeply with existing platforms, things like Twitter and Facebook. We do to some degree, like allowing people to log in to get on board and get them into the system quickly and things like this. But we do very much have this longer vision of like, how are things going to be in the future, and really thinking about positioning ourselves for that world and not necessarily this one. We could spend a lot of time, with Facebook and Twitter APIs and building apps that are specific to those platforms and all this sort of thing. But I don't know that that's a great use of time if what ultimately we're trying to do has a pretty big impact on the existence of those platforms to begin with.
Yeah.
Not to mention, they hold a ton of power over something like TonicPOW. I mean, they could just sort of ban us from all these platforms and we'd be out. So obviously we have a real strong interest in things like open social protocols and new platforms that wouldn't be subject to this, that also would like to receive, commissions in Bitcoin and things like this. The same thing's true with the advertising side. I mean, we have a vision, definitely. It's not something that we talk, a lot about, because a lot of it's not super fleshed out. Like I said, get the product to where we know it solves the purpose, put more of it on chain, get more participants involved as other players, not just TonicPOW being the only company that's involved in this larger advertising network. It shouldn't be a TonicPOW advertising network. It should be a Bitcoin advertising network. And TonicPOW is, one of the first companies to be a part of it, or the first company to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely have, some design documents and things like that reflect this sort of architecture of the future and what it might look like and everything, but nothing that is ready right now.
Sure.
But that's our mindset for sure.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So let's segue a little bit. I came and visited you about 3 weeks ago. We shot some footage. We could have shot more. Frankly, I think it would have been cool to shoot some footage of us sitting outside and having conversations for 4 or 5 hours some of the days we were there. And I really enjoyed myself, but we didn't have a camera crew for the whole week. We did, however, have a camera crew for when we went to Miami for the Bitcoin 2021 conference. Mr. Moon, if you could get the video queued up. We've got 2 parts we're going to show you here live debut here on the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. I was actually able to talk to Tim Draper. We should be able to give a longer version of this Tim Draper interview at some point in the future. The video here is not full quality. We'll give the video debut later today after the show. Well, you can watch the whole thing in stunning HD. But I want people to see a little bit of what's been what we were up to, and we'll keep leaking more information from Bitcoin 2021 as we go forward. Check my private chat here. Goes live at 9 p.m. BST, which I think is British Standard Time, I'm guessing. But yeah, so we had a good time in Miami. So if everybody wants to watch and see a little bit of what we were up to down there, please stay focused. Please tune in. Please tell your friends. Share across social media. So Alex, let's see the video, and we'll be back right after. We're surrounded by beautiful people, exotic cars, Bitcoiners, and a whole bunch of other stuff going on here at Bitcoin 2021. Man, it's a good time. We're going to be interviewing people on the street, hear their thoughts about the conference, and what it's like to wait a really long time while spending a bunch of money to try to have a good time here in beautiful Miami. But we're in the legendary Wynwood neighborhood. And man, is it hot. I am super, super warm here, and, but having a good time.
What's up, Miami? Satoshi, I love you.
What do you think of Bitcoin 2021, bro?
A lot of mixed feelings, because I love how much the space has grown. But unfortunately, if you're watching this, you know that we're dealing here with a giant Frankenstein monster. That's what BTC is a giant Frankenstein monster that is addicted to meth. And the meth is called institutional money. So we have this institutional money Frankenstein whore of a monster that just walks around and is getting depleted of its energy, its proof of work. This thing that could have the potential to really help everyone out in the world, and Bitcoin's killer app, as y'all very well know, is called entrepreneurship. You can't do that here. There's no entrepreneurship.
What's the best version of Bitcoin?
By far, the original design at scale, BSV. By far, Bitcoin in its original design at scale, where you can be an entrepreneur using the miners as the back end of your business. That is BSV.
What is your favorite thing about Bitcoin?
It's decentralized. No government or country can control or confiscate it.
You said that governments can't stop it. How is it that governments cannot stop a Bitcoin transaction, in your opinion?
Well, for them to stop it, they'd have to shut down the internet.
Or they would have to shut down the major nodes that are producing blocks, correct?
Yeah.
Do you know
which they're all over the world now. And
do you know how many companies own about 90% of the hash power on Bitcoin?
Oh, really?
There's 8. There are 8 companies on Earth, holding companies, that own all the subsidiaries that run all the mining operations across almost all the world.
Wow.
So you'd only have to take down 8 companies in order to shut down Bitcoin. Were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't.
Did you know that all of them are in British or U.S. owned territory, like Hong Kong?
No, I didn't.
Tim, can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure, I'm waiting for a car, so
all right. Yeah, no problem. All right, I gotta ask. Well, your fund is one of the largest holdings of Bitcoin in the world. What inspired you to get into Bitcoin in the first place? What was the first thing that excited you about the idea?
Well, I was always looking at digital currencies, and I thought within games that people would trade the gold from one with the diamonds for another, and you eventually would have a system of finance that was virtual. But as soon as I saw Bitcoin, I realized there was a universal opportunity that could now be global and open and transparent. Everybody, and you could put it in game or not, and everyone could use it, and that made a big difference to me.
That's fascinating. Actually, the first person that paid me a Bitcoin told me it was like video game money. So
it was to start with. Now it's got a little different value to it.
It is a little different. It sounds like what you're talking about a little bit is tokenization. Are you aware that Bitcoin had an innate ability for tokenization and that was deprecated over the last several years?
No, I didn't know that. But I know that Bitcoin to me represents freedom and trust. And I think with any society, if you really want it to thrive, you need to allow the people to be free and do what they need to do to make a living. And you need trust in the system so that if you are starting something, 28 years old, you're trying to get something started, you want to know that you can store that value somewhere. And Bitcoin becomes a great store of value. So why not operate your business in Bitcoin? You end up without, otherwise, let's say you're in Argentina, you build something of value, it drops 70% a year.
Yeah,
why would you want
that's
that?
That's a problem, yeah.
And this is a currency that has complete trust, and it allows freedom all around the world.
Did you know that the original implementation of Bitcoin, when it was issued by Satoshi Nakamoto, had the framework on it to play an on-chain game of poker?
I didn't know that.
A lot of people do not know that. Also, the framework to have an online, on-chain marketplace so that you could trade tokens in the original protocol.
No, in the original, like that Satoshi wrote?
The very first implementation, and it was there for most of the first year before it got pulled out.
Yeah, a lot of things got pulled out over the years, it seems. I mean, it gets complicated, right? Because when you're working with other people, choices get made. Like, it's hard to form consensus. So, like, those are really cool. And of course, I wonder why they were pulled out. I'm really excited. I think things that are happening in Bitcoin, Bitcoin SV, and many of this space, it's pioneering, it's revolutionary, and a lot of it's not going to exist in 2 years, but the good ideas are going to find their way into other places.
Absolutely. Shay and Vanessa, what do you think of the conference here so far?
I think it's amazing. It's a good opportunity to network, see what's out there, new coins, check out just what's going on in the industry, talk about what's happening today in the market.
Good. We got to get you ladies using Bitcoin SV. You should set up a hand cash wallet. You can set up a handle with your names, and then rather than having to scan QR codes and stuff, I can just send to Shay or Vanessa. No long complicated thing. I can send a penny because the fees are 1/1000th of a penny.
Oh, wow.
And I can send up to 50,000 transactions per second, which is more than Visa does on Black Friday.
Which one is this?
Bitcoin SV, BSV. You can use the hand cash wallet.
Oh, yes. I've heard of it.
You would know this if you know Tonic.
Nice.
Speaking of big blocks, honestly, it was fascinating, the diversity of the crowd. Luke, what was your initial feedback of the whole thing? Like, how would you categorize Bitcoin Miami conference?
Well, hot for sure. I know Tim was dying because he was wearing a suit and I wasn't, and I was dying. So that's the first thing. The second thing is just, I don't know. It looked to me more like, and I'm trying not to just be completely negative and like whatever, but just, I don't know. It just looked like a lot of folks. I overheard some conversations, so I knew that some people actually were there for the intention of really understanding a little bit more about Bitcoin or whatever. But a lot of it did seem a little bit more like a typical kind of sporting event or something that had become a fad, more so than something that was serious. So that was my biggest takeaway. It was interesting, but I did overhear some conversations where people were talking, but it's just the same thing. Basically, the only thing that they're talking about is the coin aspect, and it's just so tired. It's just so boring that's we've been doing this for so long now, and we know that we can send transactions, And we know that like, oh, you can hook up this coin to be in this exchange and all this stuff. I just wish I overheard an interesting conversation. That's all.
Yeah.
It was just, boring, I'd say.
I think, well, and it's true. You are right that like a certain percentage of the crowd, actually a significant percentage of the crowd, I think we're just there because it's like, hey, there's a thing going on over there. Like they didn't know even what the thing was. But I think the really interesting thing, even with Tim Draper, like that interview went a lot longer, and I asked him a few pretty basic questions about Bitcoin and like the things that he thinks BTC is capable of are the things that BSV is capable of. Like he literally went on to discuss like how exciting it is to have Bitcoin enforced tokens and smart contracts. And I'm like,
I was hoping that was going to be in the video. You know, I know you had mentioned to me that he talked about Lightning Network a little bit specifically. Not knowing that it costs money to open and close channels is a pretty significant misunderstanding. Yep. And he said that in the context of telling you that you misunderstood something.
Yes, he was telling me, I don't understand that Lightning Network is free. And I was like, and that's what I said. I just flippantly said like, well, yeah, if you don't account for the cost to open and close channels. He's like, oh no, there's no cost for that. And I was like,
somebody's paying it.
Right. Like, well, who's
customer acquisition or what?
Whose node are you using, Tim? Oh, it's completely decentralized. I'm like, well, then you need to pay the transaction fee to open your channel. He was like, I don't think you get it. I was like, oh, wow, Tim Draper doesn't get it. This is fascinating. I know. But it really was the MO of the whole thing. There was the guy with the long dark hair who I talked to, and he was an old school Bitcoiner too. And he was like very, vaguely understood like the scaling war and all this, but he was another one. He was some kind of school teacher. And he's like, oh, I teach my kids about Bitcoin and like how it's capable. Like he went on, he very briefly explained like colored coins. And I was like, hey, BTC can't do that anymore. Right. And he's like, what do you like? You could tell he wanted to say, yeah, I know, but then he just wasn't sure. Yeah. So I was like, man, like, hold on, like, let's backpedal a minute. And I basically explained like, here's the original protocol. Here's how BSV allows you to, you can do layer 0 or layer 2 tokens or all these different things. And he was just like, wow, that's awesome. And I was like, yeah, and you can't do any of that on BTC anymore. He was just like, oh. Yeah. And like, it's just, go ahead.
The early days, like the very early days of Bitcoin, it was popular to talk. I mean, people talked about microtransactions. It was a thing. It was one of the big use cases. Everybody talked about the small, cheap transactions. And then I just remember going to one of the Bitcoin meetups down here in Miami. I don't know what year this must have been. It's just a long time ago. But, I remember somebody standing up at the meeting saying something, asking a question. I don't understand this Bitcoin thing. Can somebody explain it to me? And I start to explain the benefits of why you would want something like this. And I mentioned microtransactions. And somebody, I don't remember who it was, somebody there interrupted my explanation to stop me to say, oh, no. We can't overpromise on this microtransaction thing because we hear it doesn't actually work. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? We've been doing this for how long? Oh, yeah. Okay. But that was like before we had hit the limit. In the early days before blocks were 1 megabyte, BTC did work like BSV. There weren't these sort of, restrictions that are going to happen. There's not a fee market that gets created when you're not loading up the blocks past their allowed limit. So how things change quickly.
Indeed. And it's just so unfortunate because then we have this contrast of going to Zurich. And I even said that like you and I flew from Miami to Zurich. Like we spent basically 2 weeks together. And that was exciting because I'm glad somebody else got to experience the contrast of Miami versus Zurich Bitcoin conferences. But
totally different. Wow. Yeah.
Was there a major, I don't know, maybe thematically or something about it that stood out to you as the biggest difference, or how would you categorize it?
I don't know, being at some of the other conferences, maybe it's just the meetings that I had and the people who I met and things like that. But to me, it struck me as a bit of a turning point in terms of like, they're very, very serious people behind the scenes that are really actively looking at how to apply this technology to their business. And I think people are not realizing that this is really happening. People mock the enterprise data and all this sort of thing, but I guess what? They're coming.
Yeah.
There's just some of the folks I talked to at that conference are, they're just there are people who manage enormous amounts of investment money and things like this that were there basically scouting, and there's also these big businesses who are looking to sort of apply it in different ways, who were just like looking for answers on how exactly to get through it. Like they are past the point of like knowing they're looking in the right place, and now they're really digging. So it was interesting. And other than that, just very, in contrast, extremely professional compared to what was going on in Miami.
Yeah,
Which, hey,
for sure.
I like a good party. It was, what was going on in Miami looked very fun. I didn't like go in and hear a lot of the talks or anything like that. I saw some YouTube clips.
Yeah, no, the talks were probably. I doubt there was a single high quality talk. Frankly, a lot of peacocking is what it looked like. So, but the party, man, was the party fun. So. I think hold on, got messages from Mr. Moon. Yeah. Alex, you want to pop on the stream or and he's gone. So Luke, let's go back to TonicPOW if you don't mind. I would love to hear, I think a lot of people get confused about the basics. Like in a very basic sense, what the hell is TonicPOW? Like if you were to just answer that question to somebody on the internet, somebody on Twitter, what's TonicPOW? Why should I use it? What is that answer?
Yeah, my most condensed version is promotion marketplace. So that's what we're trying to be, is a place where somebody who's got any brand, any website, any URL that you want people to go to, you can basically put a campaign out there, put a bounty on that to say, hey, I'll pay X cents per click, or if they complete a purchase of this t-shirt here, I'll give you 10%, or whatever. You put these bounties out there, and then you let promoters or anyone who wants to promote your campaign shop them, pick what's applicable to their audience, and share it. And that's the simple explanation.
Love it. I like this question. Northwest Chairman. I'm not sure what that name means, but chairman of something in the Northwest, presumably. How do we get over the masses hating BSV? We are the plague. It won't matter long term, but currently we are at odds. I have my own thoughts. I would love to hear the unadulterated Luke version of this answer.
I just feel like that's just Twitter. That's just this crazy little insane internet bubble that we all are attached to. The reality is, when I talk to people who are like, for example, I've been talking to a lot of people from like the gaming background, and people who have real businesses who really do handle a large volume of this sort of thing. When you talk to people like this about this, they don't have this stigma. The people in the real world don't have all of this crazy belief about what BSV is or isn't. What they're looking for is solutions to actual problems. And there's problems that they face, and there's solutions that are being built that when you show them, they say, wow, this is revolutionary. The feedback that I've got to what we have so far with TonicPOW has been way beyond what I could have imagined.
And what is that feedback? I'd be curious to see, like, who's an ideal customer that you would like to nail down, and what service would you provide them?
Yeah. So, there's a lot of different folks who are already in the business of affiliate marketing in some degree. Either they're covering like news related to it, or they have many relationships with different companies who do it. There's lots of like gaming operators, for example, who have lots of financial activity going on their sites. They do lots of micropayments. They also do affiliate programs, and they would like many things. One is they would like platforms that aren't super sensitive to their advertisements getting shut down. And that has to do with the siloed kind of nature, and they're going to be very strict about rules in certain regions and all this stuff. Because there is this voluntary aspect with TonicPOW to where a promoter shops, finds a campaign that they like, and then share it. It's totally different. It's not me deciding what it is that gets shared, and I don't have to be as much of a role in terms of like policing the content and things like that. You can leave it up to individuals to make voluntary agreements. And so that's totally a big part of it. But a lot of times, I didn't know about a lot of the different pain points that people experience with a lot of the existing solutions and things like that. But, that's why I'm just kind of surprised sometimes when I talk to somebody and they say, oh, wow, this is really going to change things. Like, hearing people say, well, this allows so many more people to participate in being affiliates than we currently can do because it's a very kind of rigid process. Like, that's just one example. Another is, oh, we want to appear to be on the up and up to regulators. Like, how do we signal that? Well, putting records on chain and making attestations and some of these other things that we can do really go a long way to sort of signal that you're playing by the rules and you're trying to do things the right way. So yeah, there's a number of different types of companies. I mean, that's one little industry, but advertising is like applicable to everywhere. And currently people advertise with a handful of different companies, and it's really nothing for them to sort of add, one more participant and a small percentage of their budget or something like that to try something new. So,
yeah. No, it's funny because it seems so obvious when you actually take a look at it and be like, oh, like person to person advertising, or like you're basically monetizing word of mouth in the same way that you would monetize other like social ad stuff. So it's like, it's such an obvious use case, but I think people get really scared by like this notion that it's Bitcoin based and I'm going to have to do all these different, like people get really freaked out by needing to manage their own expenses or whatever, or just, the cryptography aspect of it and that kind of thing. Like, like seed phrases and, that, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like mitigation for some of that stuff, or is any of that in the pipeline for you guys? What does that look like?
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole idea definitely is taking some of the nasty pieces out of this out. Like, I think Becky has mentioned before about like reconciling affiliate accounts after the fact and trying to like make sense of everything. This is why one of the things we're working on right now is like really, really detailed statistics and reporting for advertisers that shows really fine detail of everything that happened. Yeah. In addition to that, just anything having to do with compliance related stuff that like you would be worried about maybe as an advertiser, we want to try to like make that easier for you, or even things like downloading records and easily getting them out of TonicPOW and into sort of a spreadsheet, and all of these little things that might prevent somebody from getting involved in something like this because there might be some sort of a challenge for them. Another challenge is just getting a wallet, getting all that hooked up. Well, this is why we did wallet integrations. We're adding, soon adding dot wallet integration as well. And, we'll continue to make those experiences very like seamless as much as we can. So yeah, I mean, user experience is huge to us, and also getting outside of the BSV bubble and appealing to people outside of this small kind of camp that we're all in. There's a big world out there, and there's tons of people who can use these solutions.
Yeah. Where do you think it's going to take off the hardest first? I know obviously we could say like in the BSV community, I think is the first place you've had any germination, obviously, but what about in places like, where a penny is actually a viable unit for like doing business, where, having 20 cents or $1 allows you to buy lunch or dinner? Or do you think it'll be somewhere like TikTok where you just have influencers and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Where are you going to blow up?
I think where this actually ends up happening probably more is with more well-known personalities using the platform. And it's a thing that has to happen in tandem, right? So you attract advertisers put bounties in there that have a certain amount of money. And then as that pool grows, people pay attention more and more, and it kind of both sides of the marketplace have to grow together. Right. We always say like Kanye is the big example, right? If Kanye signed up tomorrow, he could make a couple posts and like clean out all the campaigns pretty easily. Yeah. But that would be a great signal, right, to the market that this thing is functional, it's working, and other people should come in and make campaigns, because maybe Kanye will shill your company, right?
For sure.
Would be pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, I think it's not just one place. I have seen the interest happen in these places where a little bit of income goes a long way, and so there's been huge interest from those areas, and that's been actually really interesting to watch that happen. But just from taking like courses on like network theory and stuff like this, like when information like or an idea or like a new product permeates a network, there's kind of this adoption curve, right, where it starts off super slow and then it accelerates and then it sort of peaks off and then kind of goes the other way, as there's not many people left in the world that don't know about this thing. We're obviously, I think, at the very beginning of any kind of a curve like that. But there's an interesting point on these curves that's known as the tipping point, where when you get past a certain amount of saturation to like an existing, network or something, it can change very rapidly. And that all has to do with what they call super nodes, big players coming in that have a large audience getting involved. That's going to make the difference. And I think once the foundational points are like well known, like it's a little harder to end up deplatformed on something like TonicPOW for just the very nature of the way that the business is built. The fact that you have a little bit more say over who you do, who you work with, whereas like YouTube ads, for example, they're just going to put stuff in your feed. You're not really getting to pick.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's a number of different reasons that I think people would be attracted to it, and one step after another, it grows.
For sure. I think this is a really interesting question here from N Snooze. She's saying mostly the legal aspect would be a concern for business. How do they do it for taxes? Is it easily liquidated into USD, and can you pay bills in BSV? What do you tell people when that's their main concern?
Well, the good news is everything's at least on the ledger, right? So even if we don't have everything, all the tooling to make it super easy for you to export the records into QuickBooks, like something that's on our radar, for example. But these are the types of things that we want to make super easy for people. You should be able to go to TonicPOW, download a file, and import it into your accounting software, and your records for advertising or whatever are all accounted for, and you're able to generate your own reports and your normal formatting and everything else. But yeah, these are exactly the types of things that we want to just take away from being a concern. So yeah, even though we don't have all of the tools and all the things that we imagine in place right now, all the records are on chain. So when we add them, it will be retroactive. You'll be able to get all your old stuff as well. Nice. And that's just a part of it. That's just the taxes part.
For sure.
Anything like that.
Yeah. So Alex, I'm going to ask your opinion. Should we play the second half of the video here? Okay. We're getting the thumbs up on the second half of the video. So for the second part of Miami, Luke and I were working with the Omniscape Transmira application to claim digital NFT tacos and pizza. So these were in augmented reality space. You could claim a digital floating taco, and then you could redeem it at local taco Koyo or Koyo Taco. I forget which one it was now. I think somebody corrected me at one point when I did that myself on film. But what was really cool about it is this is where the rubber hits the road. There's a lot of theoretical stuff going on in the blockchain economy. And much like TonicPOW, well, the Omniscape people are doing the same thing. Like, hey, we have a viable product. You can advertise through us. We can do airdrops of digital floating tokens and get people to come to our cool place. So we did some of that. And then I closed with some deep thoughts while looking at the sunset just outside of the party area in Miami. So I guess without any further ado, we can cut to the video, and then I'll come back to you for some closing thoughts, Luke. So think about who you want to thank and praise and everybody that deserves a shout out after this video. Play it, Mr. Moon.
I love the street art here in Miami. Helps me forget how hot it is here. We're the Omniscape people. We're looking for the Omniscape people, giving away free digital tacos, free digital slices of pizza. I'm standing outside of the legendary Koyo Taco, where the Omniscape team had people download an application where they could grab tokenized virtual reality and augmented reality taco tokens that they can redeem right here for free tacos. So this is an on-chain digital taco NFT. And what that means is there's a tokenized coupon that looks like a virtual reality taco in augmented reality space. We're outside of the legendary Koyo Tacos here in Miami. All I have to do here is click on the floating taco here in augmented reality space, and it will give me a voucher that I can redeem. I'll put that there. Redeemed. Is there another one? Yep, we got another taco right here in digital space. Click, add to my briefcase. So straight out of the virtual reality space, I claimed my NFT using Omniscape, and now I got physical tacos for free by picking up the coupon from out and about. Only possible because of the BSV blockchain. Very excited to be here. I was starving also, so you can go ahead and watch me eat. Up next, we're going to be claiming a slice of pizza about 2 blocks away, but since I started the app here, a bunch of pizzas have appeared on screen, and an alien has also appeared on screen, and so we're going to be shooing the alien out of the way, claiming the pizza, and I'll go cash in my digital augmented reality NFT for a real slice of pizza right down the street, and then I'll be too full, and I'll have to just keep working because the people need me. Here's my floating pizza. Grabbing the pizza, put it in the box. Got another slice floating around somewhere. Sorry. There we go. Let's see if I can grab this one. Pizza. All right, 1 item limit reached. So now I can check. There's my digital slice of pizza. We'll go to the pizza spot and claim it. I'm gonna have to eat more food. Hey, I was told I could redeem a digital slice of pizza. And that's how a digital slice of pizza becomes a physical slice of pizza. Thanks to the power of the BSV blockchain. Now I keep thinking of all the different things that restaurants like Gramps could do to spread themselves out. If they were to put a poster saying, hey, download this app, grab free pizza, follow me to Gramps Pizza with this digital NFT. You can literally spread coupons all around the neighborhood in digital space. It's a huge opportunity, and now I'm going to enjoy my pizza. It's very hot. We definitely had some victories today. I got my digital taco NFT. I got my pizza NFT. I was able to talk to Tim Draper, who didn't seem to understand that Lightning Network requires an incoming and outgoing transaction in order to open and close Lightning channels, which is a problem in Argentina. I think the most encouraging thing was how many people I talked to who just really loved the ideas, the stuff that the BSV blockchain is capable of giving to the world, but they don't understand why it's impossible on their blockchain of choice, which is an opportunity. It gives us the opportunity to show people the value of the things that we have, and then they can build it. When they see it, they get excited. The people at the pizza place were really curious what was going on, how I was able to bring a virtual reality pizza and make that happen. They saw the value. They saw the value to their business. And so it comes back to the thing that I always say. I always say that business always wins eventually, but somebody needs to do that business development. So, like I always say, there's a business development opportunity. There's $1 billion business out there for anybody that's willing to knock on doors and do old school cold calling and explaining the business model and sign a business contract. Get people to use the wallets, get people to use the tools, show them how their business can be more profitable by using BSV. And if we can do that, well, then it won't matter if I ever find Peter. Couldn't find him anywhere. Apparently he groped a lady who called out Jack Dorsey for his censorship campaigns over at Twitter. And yeah, I mean, they're a bunch of laughing jackals. The small blockers are immature. They don't understand business. They don't care about business. They don't understand the opportunity of a global public ledger that's connected to a globally distributed supercomputer. And while people don't understand that that's the opportunity, well, then that's the real opportunity for the people that do understand early. They can conquer so much territory. And I think it's more obvious now.
And we're back. So
you gotta get one of those fancy commercials, man.
Hey, man, we'll get her done. So, yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, just doing that whole thing, hanging out with you in Miami was pretty exciting. I was excited to see that the NFT situation worked, the coupons worked, the apps worked. Had a little bit of some connectivity issues, but that was more of an infrastructural problem.
Infrastructure issue.
I'm curious, are there ways that TonicPOW could be integrating with more of these companies? Like, could you integrate with Omniscape to make more valuable local campaigns and that kind of thing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we just need to have more conversations and have more hands. We've been growing the team and getting on this a little bit. I think personally, I'm not one to be like big on social media, or it's funny because here I am doing TonicPOW, which is all about getting the word out and stuff. But like personally, I'm not a very loud person. It's just funny how that works out. But one thing that really helps me feel a lot better about getting loud is the progress that we've made, and some of the things that we have coming out the next month or so are going to really encourage a lot of us to share what's going on with a lot more people. I'm excited about what's next. So.
Yep, it's awesome. So a question that I've seen, I don't see it now on the list, but a couple of people have said, why is it so hard to get the instant payouts? And I actually know the answer to this question, but I would like you to explain why no instant payouts for new users, and what can new users do in order to qualify for instant payouts on TonicPOW?
Yeah, so this is part of what I mean about like what's coming. There's a bit of a shift that needs to happen, that's needed to happen for a long time, but it takes a lot of work to get there, and we're getting a lot closer. But the goal has always been for us not to be in the middle of it. Right now, we're in the middle of it because you earn money, it goes into a pending account. We have to sort of review this to make sure that it's cool, because we're coming from an insecure system where just HTTP requests don't just equal money. That's not realistic. You need to make sure that they're being shared by somebody that is doing it in a way that makes sense and not trying to scam the system. So we obviously built tons of layers of different protection into the system and such, but until the promoter is sort of outed for bad behavior, more or less, by just having like statistics that the advertiser can see and figure out what's going on, there's not really a good avenue for them to take recourse or to choose who they do business with and who they don't. And that's a lot of like what we've been working on, is giving the advertiser the ability to do this. So I haven't really talked about this too much, I think at all publicly, about what we're really planning to do. But basically the way it's going to work is you will be able to have much higher payouts on campaigns in the future because of the changes that we're making. you'll be able to have much higher pay-per-click rates or even larger payouts and things like that. And you won't necessarily need to go through us to have instant payouts enabled. The advertiser will be able to turn them on for you for their campaign. Instant payouts is something that is it's very easy for people to try to abuse that. If we just immediately let a brand new account that's signed up with no reputation, no history, instantly get instant payouts, they could do various things to try to milk those campaigns, and they have tried in the past. So that's the big reason. It's just security, and we need to protect the campaign funds that are in there from being abused.
For sure, just instant drain. And really that's the purpose of proof of work in the first place, was to get rid of these sort of like click farms and Sybils and sock puppets, and basically being able to communicate signal through an adversarial channel. So I think it's a really important mission you guys are on. I am a 100% diehard supporter of TonicPOW. Everybody, you should sign up for a TonicPOW account. I certainly share their tweets all the time, and I think the whole world gets better the more we start using the tools, both to advertise and to promote. So we really do need to grow both sides of the pie there. Luke, who deserves shout outs? Who deserves like a hi mom before we wrap up here? Who would you like to thank, or who would you like to criticize while on live air while we're here?
Well, I'm glad you gave me a heads up before the commercial, because I thought about it for a second. And I would say, if I had to thank anybody, I would just thank everyone who's had the mindfulness to not get totally side railed with this nonsense. And especially the people who've invested time, effort, energy, money. That includes all the builders in this space who have just sort of taken this giant criticism of this, BSV's a scam sort of thing, and just said, I know that that's not true, and I'm going to build anyway and invest my time into this. Same thing goes for the investors who have put money into companies in this space, and everybody who's sacrificed something to keep pushing Bitcoin forward. So I think they all deserve a big thank you.
No, amen to that. I think for anybody watching, I want you all to know that if you share any link from CoinGeek.com, now this is a CoinGeek show, so if you're watching, I am advertising for the company here. You can share every single article, every single page of CoinGeek.com. You can turn it into a short link at TonicPOW. And if you are logged into TonicPOW, you get 8 cents per click for anybody that clicks on any CoinGeek link. So if you read a really good article, or on days like when Craig Wright wins a default judgment against somebody and everybody wants to read the news, you can make a lot of dollars on days like that when everybody wants to hear the story. So get a TonicPOW account, sign up, share CoinGeek.com links using TonicPOW. And then Alex just reminded me, 15 cents for conference campaign. So, for the next CoinGeek conference, be ready to share your links. Tell your friends, hey, sign up for CoinGeek conference. You get 15 cents a click that way. I don't know any other system anywhere that pays even close to a penny per click. So earning between 8 and 15 is bonkers.
It's true, but it's still not impressive enough. What's got to happen is the conversion goals got to get hooked up for these sorts of things. And I think that's coming. We're going to see some fun stuff with that. But basically, we haven't had any in-person conferences, but when we do,
right,
you'll be able to earn a little commission on those tickets, hopefully, if you get people to join.
Yep. Amen to that. Luke, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been good to chat. I'm really glad that the world gets to hear your wise words, and then we get to watch our stupid Miami clip show and all of that. Frankly, I don't know how many people get to have like live clip shows of their vacations, but you and I had a vacation that got professionally edited into some media. So
yeah, I was wondering where there was one clip I was expecting to be in there that I didn't see, but we got surface at some point.
We got all the raw footage, Luke. So coming soon, I'm sure. So anyways, thanks everybody. Thank you, Luke. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to have a closing word, but if you want to hang on, we can chat a little bit as soon as we get off the air too. So everybody, that was Luke Rohenaz, CEO of TonicPOW, good friend of mine, just a good guy, real good guy to hang out with socially or in business or anything else. I got Demban is how I'm going to guess this name is pronounced. If I mispronounce it, I'm sorry. All you do is you navigate to TonicPOW.com, you sign up for an account, and then you go to CoinGeek.com and you click the URL up in the URL bar, and you copy and paste that into the toolbar at the top of the homepage of TonicPOW, and it will create a short link for you. It is a TPOW short link. When people click that link, you get paid. That's the whole system. If you want to be extra cool, you can also use their browser extension, which is the way I do it, which shortens the process by about 90%. It's basically open page, click short link, bam, you got it, and it's pretty awesome. There's also a CoinGeek created how-to video, so you can navigate and watch that too. So, but I'm not going to do that for you. I want to thank everybody. First of all, as I try to do every episode, sometimes I forget, and I apologize, because it'd be one of those things that's like really romantic to write in my biography someday. But I'm going to thank my wife and my children for being quiet and for allowing me to do a show at home. It's not easy with 2 children under 2 to remain quiet for the hour that these shows occur. So thank you to my wife, Natalie, my son, Ronan, and my dear daughter, Molly, for being the most awesome family in the world. And I want to thank all of you, my lovely fans. It was awesome to meet so many of you as we travel. And hopefully as the world gets a little more back to normal, I can meet more of you. We can shake hands, have a drink or two, as long as my liver will allow. And let's figure out if we can do the next couple of NFT tokens in a city near you. I would love to be your buddy. So let me know who needs the next round of Omniscape NFT digital tokens. We'll do a TonicPOW campaign. We'll do some Omniscape stuff, and we'll get them signed up for all the other cool stuff in the BSV ecosystem. So without further ado, like, share, subscribe. I need these subscriptions, people, because frankly, I need this job. I mean, I do, but that's the weirdest way to put it. So I'm going to leave now on that weird note. Everybody, thanks again. I'm Wuckert Jr. This is the CoinGeek Weekly Livestream. Join me every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, which is, I don't know, something else in BST. Alex Moon time. That's what we're calling it. Thank you, everybody. Peace out and bye-bye, Spirit Finger.
Data is double-edged. Wield it well and build your place in tomorrow. But trust it blindly and risk watching your progress crumble. Because much of the data we rely upon isn't reliable at all. At nChain, we believe in data, but we put no faith in it. Instead, we build tools that enable enterprises to trust the data upon which they rely. nChain, data without question.